What is going on? Welcome to episode 108 of the Nintendo Powercast. I'm your host, N64 Josh, and player 2, look, it's not Eric, I know. Nightcrawler, what's up, man? How are you?
It's not your boy.
It's not
nope.
It's not your boy.
It's Nightcrawler.
Player 3, Vikki Kitty, how the heck are you?
I'm doing great, man. Just coming off of CEO and playing some more Smash Ultimate.
You are so lucky. I'm so jealous. And that hat.
And
guys,
the hat.
if you guys are only listening to the audio version, you gotta go check out the video and see her Smash Bros hat. It is glorious. It is.
Did you get the full swag bag? The bag?
I did actually. I actually have to give away when I get a sub button finally, when I've dedicated myself to streaming 30 hours in 1 month. I actually have like a Nintendo giveaway where I was gonna give away some of the Smash Ultimate like exclusive stuff that they gave away for at E3. So it's like a Smash Ultimate pin, Smash Ultimate, like it's like a banner, so it's like the Smash Ultimate logo on this banner thing, and a Smash Nintendo Switch pin as well. So stuff like that. So they give us like a bunch of little goodie bags, but I managed to catch some extras to give away to some dedicated viewers.
Perks of the job, I guess, right?
So,
yeah.
I mean, it's good time as any to tell us where they can find you on Twitch.
Oh, absolutely. You guys can tune in at Vikki Kitty, Vikki Kitty. I always elaborate on that because some people just type in Vicky.
All right, and I will have a link to it in the show notes, so you guys don't sweat it if you didn't get it. So, the music you just heard is from On Being Human. You can check them out on Spotify and YouTube. Remember, this is an unofficial Nintendo podcast. If you want to get yourself a free book from Audible, go to audibletrial.com/NPC. There you can pick up something like Blood, Sweat, and Pixels, super good, and Console Wars, of course. You guys, I recommend that every week, so go check that out. It's audibletrial.com/NPC. Guys, the chair I'm sitting in is from OP Seat. Go to n64josh.com/OP Seat. Going through that link will automatically save you $10 off of your purchase. Right now, all chairs are $50 off, and all tables are $100 off. That's OP Seat. Go to n64josh.com/OP Seat. There we go. That's the ads. Let's get to the announcements.
Hey, listen.
All right, we do the show live, twitch.tv/N64Josh, usually at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We started a little early tonight because, well, I'm actually going to be on the Nintendo Shack podcast. So you guys probably get to hear my voice like twice or 3 times, 4 times this week if you really want to. I don't know, but Nintendo Shack, go check it out. It's another Nintendo podcast. Good stuff, good friends. Go check it out. I don't know when it goes live, but I'll tweet it out. I'll tweet it out for sure. So, but this show happens 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Tuesdays, Thursdays. I recently took a bunch of photos of my retro collection. If you guys want to check those out, you can go to n64josh.com/photo, and I'm going to be displaying those in an art walk this week in my hometown. I'm pretty excited for that. That's why I'm telling you guys about it. Still working on my book, Another Castle. Some versions have gone out and are getting looked at, so we're getting closer. And tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, Friday mornings, tomorrow we're looking at Philippix. It's an indie title, and Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, and possibly Pocket Rumble. I don't know. Maybe. It's finally out. Can you guys believe it? Like, it's here. Pocket Rumble's here. So there you go. Pretty exciting stuff. That's our announcements. We're going to just jump right into our talking points. Tonight's focus is going to be on our guest, Vikki Kitty. We're going to talk about her history. We're going to talk about like her history with Nintendo, working with Nintendo, and commentating. All of it. We're gonna get down to it. So let's jump into this thing. All right, Vikki.
Hey.
What's the deal? What's your history with Nintendo? Let's go
man.
back. Let's get back in the time machine here. And where did it all start?
So let's jump all the way back. It all started. I was about 3 to 4 years old. My mom was still going to college at the time, so she used to drop me off at my grandmother's house, where my uncle was still going to high school as well, because I have a pretty young family. So my uncle actually used to have an SNES, and I was able to play my very first Mario game on his SNES with my grandma, and it was an experience because that was when I determined that I never wanted to be player one because player one was basic. I wanted to be player two because I liked the green man. I did not like the red man. And that actually brought my grandma and I a lot closer, but not just that, it sparked up my love for video games. It all started with Nintendo.
So Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo. That's the
Yes.
That's
Yes.
the start. Okay. That's really cool. Were there any other games on the SNES that you played on the regular?
Literally just that one. It was always, I want to play Mario. It was always just that game. And since I was so young, I didn't really know about the other games. And my uncle the whole time had no idea we were playing in this room. It was always a secret. So every time we had to pick him up, she was like, "Oh wait, make sure it looks like it was never touched."
Josh, you probably got good at that hiding that you only went over your 45-minute time allotment, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I had 45 minutes my parents allowed me to play, so I had to make sure everything looked exactly
Went
as
right back how it
supposed
was.
to. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So did you ever get your hands on Mario All-Stars for the SNES?
No, actually, I didn't. And actually, I got the mini version. I got the one that recently came out, the Nintendo release.
Mhm.
So I finally have been able to I haven't been able to beat a game yet because I'm so distracted with all the games on the system. So I've been playing a little bit of each game. I'm like, I can't finish them. I'm sorry. Eventually I will, but at least I was able to see which game was it? All Stars, right? No, I actually was able to play Mario. Was it RPG?
RPG,
Was
yeah.
it that? Yes. Oh my gosh. And I'm like, how have I never played this game before? And it wasn't until a few months ago that I played it for the first time. I'm like, I know 4-year-old Vikki would have loved this. Actually, the one I want to say, the one console that I played that belonged to Nintendo that I was able to actually recap a memory of it was a Nintendo 64. I am 22 years old, so I'm pretty young. But on the Nintendo 64, it actually wasn't even my console, it was my father's. And we had Counter-Strike, we had Star Fox, we had Super Mario 64. We didn't even have Super Smash Brothers. I never even played Smash Brothers 64, funny enough. I play, obviously now, every time I go to Super Smash Con, I was able to play it, but back in the day, I never got to play it. What other games did I play on there? I think I want to say Super Mario 64 was the game that I played avidly. And Mario Party. Oh my gosh, I cannot forget Mario Party. I was a single kid for 7 years, so I needed something to entertain myself.
So you've experienced the new Mario Party, right? At E3?
I actually didn't.
You didn't.
Did not
I was
get to play.
hoping to see if you could say if it was back to the greatness of 1, 2, and 3.
I actually wasn't. I'm not too sure if it was out on display. I did see the new Pokemon game that was out. I think Mario Party was out there, but my eyes were all fixated on Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I try to play as much as possible because when before the Invitational, before the commentators had to do their jobs and stuff, and we were able to play, I was all fixated on notes. I was like, I know the game is right in front of me, you guys, but I just need to know as much information as possible before we go on stage. So I'm just I had a notebook. I always carry a notebook with me, and I'm just yes. Spoke to Leffen, spoke to Nairo, and I was just trying to get as much information as possible about the game. So I couldn't get to play Ultimate as much as I liked, but after the whole Invitational, that was when I was able to play more.
I see. So I gotta know, with Mario Party, did you get the blister in the center of your hand and have to get the special glove sent to you from Nintendo?
I broke the stick. I broke the stick. I broke the stick. And I was such a competitive kid too back in the day. I want to say the first Nintendo system that was meant to be mine as a gift was the GameCube. That was because I come from a very old school family where my mom was very video games are for boys and then you play with toys, and I'm just no. No, because my dad was a very avid gamer, so it was very difficult to grow up in that type of environment where I couldn't game. So eventually they caved. They got me a GameCube for Christmas. I remember that was my favorite Christmas ever. I remember how I found the GameCube. They didn't even put it under the Christmas tree. They put it in the garage underneath a laundry basket, and they played it off. They were trolling me. They played it off as if I had no other gifts left. So then I go to the garage because they're do your laundry. So I go to the garage as being an 8-year-old kid, and I see this GameCube underneath the laundry basket, and I flipped. And it was all part of plan. And I'm like, oh my gosh, thank goodness. Like, I got my GameCube, got the Mario Party on the GameCube. I got literally everything. Got the Harry Potter game and the Prisoner of Azkaban. I had Melee. I had the Wind Waker. I got the GameCube version that actually had the game of The Legend of Zelda, where it had Legend of Zelda, the original Legend of Zelda, all the way up to the Wind Waker 10-minute demo.
Do you still have
That
it?
was yeah. I don't know if I still have it, but I definitely checked online, and they're selling that for $200. What is happening? What did I do with my copy?
Yeah, you gotta find that.
Yeah, I regret ever selling my Super Nintendo.
Oh man, yeah, good days, good days. Those are honestly my favorite days. I want to say my favorite system was the GameCube.
Oh, absolutely. Like we reminisce about that console regularly. Was that your introduction to Smash Bros?
Yes, for Melee, Melee in particular, because my sister was born when I was 7 years old. So at the time when she was like 3 to 4 years old, one of the first games we used to play together was actually Melee.
Okay, so the GameCube has a few games that basically were introduced on that system. One of them being being Animal Crossing. Is that a game that you play, Animal Crossing?
I didn't play it on the GameCube. I actually played it on my DS. I had like 3 DSs because I was a disaster as a kid. But aside from the GameCube, I didn't find Animal Crossing through like commercials or anything. I actually found Animal Crossing through my very first sleepover. Slept over my friend. Her name was Perry, and she had Animal Crossing. And this was like in the 5th grade, and she was like, "This game is awesome. You should try it." And I tried it. That was my first time playing a game that involved like customizing your own house and doing your own stuff in your own taste. And I remember she went to bed like at 8 o'clock at night. We're in 5th grade, mind you. I played that game from the moment she went to bed on her DS till I want to say 4 o'clock in the morning as a kid. And it was so addicting. I actually had no idea until way later on in the GameCube lifespan that Animal Crossing was on the GameCube.
Oh, you got to go back sometime. You got to see what it was like. Best.
I'm purring. Animal Crossing for Switch. When?
Yes. Probably the best part about Animal Crossing on the GameCube, like if you go into my house on that game, you go down to the basement, there's like 15 NESs and you can play every one of them. Each one of them is a different game. And
that's amazing.
You had to like go and dig them up on this weird Game Boy Island. And there was all kinds of, it was tricky to get. So like Mike Tyson's Punch-Out was like the toughest. It was probably just called Punch-Out featuring Mr. Dream more than likely. I don't think it was Mike Tyson sitting longer, but yeah, that was probably one of my favorite things. Here I was supposed to be playing this, the best new system back in the day, and I'm like, I could play old Nintendo games on this thing.
You're just playing ROMs in Animal Crossing.
This is the best,
Oh my gosh, back in the day, man, those games were so fun.
Okay,
I loved Prisoner of Azkaban was actually one of my old Harry Potter games too, and I got that for the GameCube, and I remember playing that game, and they had like Nemo come out for it, and I think it was The Incredibles. Oh, fantastic.
They had all that kind of stuff on Super Nintendo too. Licensing was all over the place.
Absolutely,
it was great.
So here's my favorite question. You ready?
Oh, hit me.
What game have you never played or never beat that we are all going to judge you for?
Oh man. Okay. There's a few actually.
Perfect.
I have never played a Metroid game.
Do you feel the judgment right now? Can you feel it?
I feel it through the silent eyes of the internet right now. I've never played a Xenoblade game.
That's a little. I won't judge you quite as. I won't judge you quite as much for that. Metroid, unacceptable. It's unacceptable, especially if you had a DS or a Game Boy Advance. I don't know. Did you have a Game Boy?
I did. I actually have them like right next to me somewhere. I had all of them. I had the game. I also had the flashlight that would go over your Game Boy Color. That you at night when you would play, since you couldn't see the screen, you need the flashlight. Back in the day, it was old. I had
a light boy.
Yeah, actually, Yeah, I want to say those two games. I'm trying to think of more. There have been a few games that I've recently played that now no one could judge me for, and it was Final Fantasy VII, which I recently played it, and Fire Emblem.
Okay, yeah. I've still never
My
played
first
Final
game that I started
Fantasy.
with Fire Emblem actually was Fire Emblem 7 with Lynn, Hector, and Eliwood. And then I'm actually right now playing Fire Emblem 6 with Roy, and I'm also at the same time playing Mother 3. So
You are righting all those wrongs.
I am ready now as I'm 22 years a little too late, but it's okay. Better late than right?
Okay,
Well,
so
Super Metroid is on
Yep.
your SNES Classic, so it's just there waiting for you.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's one of the games I actually haven't started playing yet.
so
I-
Or if you're taking your
haven't
DS
played-
around with you, you can download it too.
That too. I haven't played Castlevania either.
Have you played Bloodstained Curse of the Moon? It's close enough.
on the Switch,
No, actually.
you should check it out. It's really good, really good. So after you play Super Metroid and you beat it, and you're so excited, hit me up. We'll have you back on so you can talk
Oh my
about
god.
the
So we talk
greatness
about it.
of
Yes.
the greatness.
I'm
that is
literally
Super
about to
Metroid.
Google it. Like, where do I start? Like, how do I start this? Do I start on the SNES?
Yes, just start there. That's where you want
Okay.
to start. Like if
Got
if you have the NES Classic, you can play the first Metroid, and there is some fun to be had, but it's nothing compared to Super Metroid.
Yeah, Super Metroid is better.
Put it to you this way: I was probably 12 when I beat Super Metroid, and it was the first time that I ever had any kind of an emotional experience in a video game. Honestly, it's probably the first and last time I ever had any kind of emotional experience ever. But it was awesome. The end of that game, I was like, oh my gosh, it was so good. Now I played a lot of 2, so that helped. But the way they start Super Metroid, you know exactly what happened at the end of 2, and so you start right up you start right up, and you just start going. And you're probably gonna get stuck, but just stick with it. Maverick in the chat saying Super Metroid easily top 3 SNES games. Yeah, that game is in my top 5 for all time games. Like I love Super Metroid. So I am curious to see how you like it. So you'll have to let us know.
I actually, yeah, based on what people are saying, I'm definitely gonna try it out. Now I have to. Like, I put myself on the spot, right?
And there was no actual judgment. It was just
There was definitely judgment. Hold on. There was definitely judgment.
Play back the tape.
The reason I asked the question is because I'm Judge Continue. I've never beat Super Mario 64, and my name is N64 Josh. They judge me.
Oh my god.
He doesn't even own the cart.
I don't even own the cart, and so
No, it's such a good game.
I don't. Hey, I have the ROM. I have it on DS, but I don't have the actual Mario 64 cart. So they mock me on the regular. So I'm like, you know what? I need to ask every guest so that they can feel the judgment I feel daily. You know? So, well, let's fast forward a little bit here. How did you get into working with Nintendo?
It all started when I started commentating, actually, and I'm gonna say that they reached out to me on recommendations from other Super Smash Brothers community members that they've been involved with in the past, and they were looking for a female commentator actually to commentate a 12 and under tournament. I guess more so to appeal to the kids, so that way the kids, like, it was more so commentary, so that way the kids could understand the basic terminology, but as well as make them interested to get into the competitive scene as well if they want to do that, because they actually used competitive rule sets. Not to the book, like not, word by word from the book, but they still like took competitive rule sets and they try to implement it for the kids. And they basically called me up and they're like, hey, we're doing a San Diego Comic-Con 12 and under Smash Brothers tournament. We want you to commentate. Are you down? I'm like, yes, of course. Like, yeah, you have to explain it in basic terminology though, because this is mostly for the kids. I'm like, for the kids. And I did it for the kids. I did it for the kids. And it was amazing. I actually remember the kid's name that won. I believe his name was Ivan. And he was a Cloud player. And I forgot who was the other player, but I believe the other player that was against him was a Little Mac. And Ivan actually reset bracket because he was coming back from losers after losing, I believe, to a Bayonetta player. Mind you, everyone in this tournament is 12 and under. and these kids are doing like tournament-ish like moves, and
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, we see you got combos, like this is great. Now these kids have access to YouTube, so you know they're a lot more knowledgeable in terms of like what they see on the internet. And I had a really fun time. I was able to commentate with JC Dotface. He works at Nintendo Treehouse. Shout out to JC. And it was him actually that I worked with for that event. And after that, we've basically been working for the other Nintendo events. It's between JC and Ed Murray.
Okay. All right. So this seems like a good time to mention this. So recently, obviously, I mean, you did the Smash Bros. Invitational, right? And Nintendo Versus tweeted out, I think Nintendo even tweeted out that you were going to be one of the commentators. And so I was like, well, who's Vikki Kitty, right? I don't know. Like I'm just slowly learning. I'm getting into the Smash scene and stuff, right? So I click on your Twitter and I read your bio, and I actually should pull it up right here because it's probably one of the greatest bios I've ever read on Twitter. You guys read? Oh, did it change? Oh no, it's the pinned tweet. Here it is. The pinned tweet is what I read. It says this: "I'm the one who sounds like a little boy when I commentate your matches." And I was like, follow. Like, there's the follow.
I had to.
Right there. So
I had to.
There's got to be a story behind that, right?
I mean, I play a lot of games in general, especially on. Come from a very team shooter background, actually. So, in the past, whenever I play, it's always like, "Hey, aren't you supposed to be in school?" I'm like, I graduated school years ago, and they're like, "You sure you're not in middle school?" I'm like, "Yes, I promise." I had another little boy once say the same thing to me, and I go, "Why aren't you in school?" Like, and I'm like, I've never been roasted this hard in my life by a child. It was so funny, but I embrace it because I know as a female, I don't have a very high pitched voice, but I love it at the same time because I feel like it's so radio friendly.
There you go. No, you're rocking it. It's awesome. I literally laughed out loud when I read that thing. Was like, okay, I want to know more. So, okay, how about, so it sounds like we got to go back even further than Nintendo. How did you get into esports? Like, how did Nintendo even know about you? Like, how did it all happen?
So I've been playing Smash Brothers. I started from the game that we shall not name. But before that one, actually, started from Brawl, then proceeding towards playing the different version of Brawl. And we used to play in my friend's living room, and it was a group of us. And we always used to be like, yes, we're the best players in Super Smash Brothers within the city of Miami. That's how it all starts. And then we used to challenge other squads to come over, and we would fight them. And it would be a huge free-for-all match, by the way, not even competitive whatsoever. We didn't know what we were doing. And from there, we were like, hey, like, we just found out there's actual tournaments for this, and we think we're pretty good, so let's go out. And we started at Versus Gaming Center, which is located in Pompano Beach, Florida. We got rocked. We did awful. We were like, wow, we really are terrible. But we wanted to learn more. We wanted to get better at the game because we have so much fun playing naturally with our friends. And then from there, our friend group, we split in terms of who wants to play competitively and who wants to keep it friendly. So that way, whenever we gather together, we do both. We play competitive matches, but we also do some friendly matches. You guys have heard All Is Brawl, where we literally just do a bunch of free-for-alls with items on, just have fun with it. Because, at the end of the day, it's still Smash. As long as you're having fun, that's the point of the game. And from there, I started competing a lot more often. I would go on my own accord. I wouldn't really go with many people. And eventually, I want to say 4 months into me competing Super Smash Bros. Tournaments, our local tournament organizer, he goes by DC, who is also a Smash 4 commentator. He was like, hey, Vikki, you want to commentate? And I was like, you know what? I like talking, and I narrate the game already in my head, so let's just do it. So I sat down with DC. We were commentating top 8 for this local, and we had over 500 viewers tuned into our local. And I think we, broke the viewership level of how many viewers we got at a local. Because, locals aren't crazy. It's not like a national tournament or anything like that. And from there, I got so much positive feedback, so many words of encouragement that I was like, you know what? I want to do this more. and I started commentating more often at my local. I want to say this proceeded for about 2 months before DC was like, hey, I got you a gig at a regional, which is unheard of, by the way. It usually takes a lot longer for people to go from locals to regionals. And
he
I was
just pushed
like,
you into the deep end then?
yes. He was like, here you go, have the Sharks. I'm like, wait, I don't want them to. Oh, okay, well, I'll take it. So it was a regional, I believe, hosted by MBG League. MBG, they hosted this tournament. I believe it was Frame Perfect, the very first Frame Perfect in this venue called like Monsters, Gods and Monsters. And I commentated this event with this gentleman. His name is Black Guy Gamer. And he next to me, I believe he's a football player. He's like 6'8", and I'm 5'1". So side by side on the mic, you see us together, and he's like 10 times like taller than me, like bigger. And I'm just like over here in the corner, and everyone's like, oh, look, Biggie Smalls, because Biggie Smalls. And we actually stuck by that name. We became like a duo. So it was Black Eye Gamer and I. We commentated this event. We had very good criticism, also constructive criticism, that since it was our first regional, we had to take it in, and I took it with a grain of salt, and I tried to improve myself in the future. And then Black Eye Gamer, eventually down the line, a few months later, he started concentrating more so on football, as he does football in college. I believe it's FGCU, Florida Gulf Coast, and I still continued with commentating. So we separated in our own ways to pursue our own things. And as I continuously commentated, I went from more locals to more regionals to my first national, I believe, was not even my first out-of-state event. It wasn't even a national. My first out-of-state event was hosted by VGVC, ran by Gimmer. It was called Glitch, and it was only a side tournament that I commentated, and I was so happy. It was Glitch, and it was a low-tiers tournament. I had all the fun with it. And then from there, I went from doing out-of-state small tournaments to out-of-state bigger tournaments. I believe my first one was Super Smash Con 2016. Then it went from Super Smash Con to CEO 2016. Then so on and so forth. I started doing just strictly nationals at that point.
That is awesome. Like,
yeah, it was super fun. It all started with just competing with friends and local friends in my friend's living room, doing side bets and being cocky and prideful.
I love it. I love it. And what's funny is that at least the beginning of that story with Smash, like, it seems like that's such a common theme with Smash players that, like, yeah, I think we're pretty good, and they go to a tournament and just get ruined. Ruined. And so I'm going to jump ahead in our questions here. What advice would you give somebody, cuz like you just kind of jumped into it, like you just started. What advice do you give somebody that's like, hey, I want to start doing that? Where do they go? What do they do?
Since I started with locals, this is how I picture it. It's like a map. You just get a concept map. And I would say go out to locals and play, because I absolutely would not have been able to commentate Smash. This is the reason why I don't commentate Melee. I can't commentate a game that I've never played. I need to play the game to learn. I learn the best with hands-on experience. You could talk tech to me all day, and I will look at you with the most dumb face, because I won't know what you're saying unless I see it visually in front of me and I can perform it myself. So before I can talk about somebody else's play, I need to recognize that play from experience. So I would say start competing, go to locals, then from there, commentate your locals. Commentate regularly. And if you start getting better and you start taking in that constructive criticism, you will understand what constructive criticism is versus just hate. Because you're going to get hate no matter what. No matter what. And that means you're doing something right. People get upset over anything these days. So as long as you take in the constructive criticism and you apply it to your commentary, you go from locals, and then your state will know about you. Because Smash community is, although it's big, it's still very close and tight-knit because it's grassroots. So then your local big TO will hear about you, and they'll be like, okay, let's have you on for regional. And from regionals, you go to nationals. I would call it the step-by-step process. Locals, regionals, then nationals. And as long as you're able to perfect your craft within each of those different categories, you'll get better overall as a commentator.
I love it. I love it. Let's focus a little bit on the hate. Okay? Not that we want to, like, you guys will understand. We talked about this a little bit beforehand. A lot of times gaming is like a boys club, right? And we're slowly seeing that that shift. I wish it would shift faster, honestly. And what's it been like for you having to deal with that online and with people? I mean, if you're doing locals and you're doing these things, you're having interaction with people. Have there been times that it's been like uncomfortable, or are people in real life a little more cordial than they are on social media?
Yeah, I would say the last part, especially. I've never had a situation occur in real life where anything that I see online has ever happened to me in person. Applaud to that. Hopefully, knock on wood,
Yeah,
never happens.
Let's keep that going.
But I've never. Oh, sorry, computer just like died. You guys still see me? All right.
Yeah, you're there.
Yeah, you're good.
Sorry, I went on sleep. I've never had an issue in person where someone has been disrespectful to me. I guess the most you could get is when you're at a tournament and I'm playing somebody and you beat them. Sometimes they could get a little salty because they undermine you. But overall, like, since people have heard of me and they've seen me commentate, they don't get as mad anymore. I'm pretty sure other girls have had their experiences with something similar to that. Online, though, different battleground. I have definitely had problems with people online, either undermining, like the Invitational would be a prime example of that, where unfortunately other commentators who are the top of the top commentators of our scene were not picked because Nintendo was going for more marketable, trying to go for a more marketable technique rather than getting the most technical commentators out there where they're broadcasting to a more general audience of all ages. So a lot of people were upset, but instead of questioning the other commentators, they automatically questioned me. And a lot of people pointed that out. Actually, it wasn't even me. So I had to go over my credentials and every other games that I've done with other companies that I've worked with. Whereas my coworkers didn't need to do that necessarily because people already assumed that they belong there. Situations like that really brought in some light into the community where I kind of don't want to get involved into controversial stuff like that. So I try to not bring in any negative light because the community sometimes has a lot of negative light shined on it. Mm-hmm. But the negative comments always speak louder than the positive ones. And although I get negative comments, I know 100% that I get more positive comments than negative comments. So for the past, I want to say 2.5 years as an individual, I could thank the Smash community for really helping me build that steel skin, because before this community, I would have cared 1,000 times more about what people say rather than how I am now. Because I've recognized that as long as I keep getting hired to do the jobs that I do and I get advice from my colleagues and take that in to proceed into my commentary career and use that criticism from my colleagues only, really, I know that I am doing a good job. And it could be tough. It's been tough on other women I've seen. And it's unfortunate because it's not a good look. It actually makes people not want to get involved. But people see me commentate regardless of whatever Twitch chat is saying or whatever any chat is saying in general, YouTube comments, anything. And they're like, you know what? I like what she's doing. And I've had women, random women, even little girls. I never forget a little girl who came up to me at Frame Perfect 2 with her father, say, look, daddy, it's Vikki. And I was like, oh, I was so happy. I was so
awesome.
happy. I thought it was the cutest thing that it's ever happened to me in my career. And I actually was going through a hard time for something similar when this was the process when I was very, very concerned over what other people were saying. And I actually wanted to take a step away from the mic and I didn't want to commentate anymore. That little girl literally brightened everything for me. That was like a sign when I was like, I can't stop. I need to keep going because of generations like this, because it's not a boys club. Girls are getting involved. I just play the game because I love playing the game. I said it earlier. I played the game since I was a little kid with my little sister. Yeah. And I want to continue doing that. And I want other people to do it without being afraid, because people will always say whatever they want. And if you're successful, regardless if you're a boy or girl, they're going to be talking about you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. And Crawler had the same response as that little girl. When I said you were coming on the show, he was like, it's Vikki. So
yes. Oh my gosh. That literally keeps me going. I love kids. I love kids so much.
No, it's great. And I mean, and you did an excellent job. All three of you guys at the Smash Invitational, you guys knocked it out of the park. I mean, everybody involved. Watching those things live, it looks like somewhat like organized chaos, and you guys have to be able to like keep it together like on the fly, and it's amazing to watch. Describe that experience for us, like being at the Invitational. You know what? Let's backtrack just a little bit. When you got the call that you were going to be on there, what was that? What describe the emotions? Describe that that day.
I actually did not think I was gonna get hired for the Invitational, and everyone called me crazy for thinking. But I had my justifications for it, and it was because, I've worked with them already so much in the past. Although I didn't do their Smash 4 Invitational, I worked with them so much in the past already that I thought that they were gonna probably get different people. Which I actually think is partially why they didn't hire some people for this Invitational, because they wanted to mix the talent. We have so much talent in the scene that they wanted to mix it up. So I didn't think I got the job because the person who usually contacted me, and instead of saying, "Hey, we want you to work the event," he said, "Hey, so are there any other girls that commentate nationals?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm about to give him my replacement." And the thing is, it's actually unfortunate. There are no other girls who commentate nationals.
Yeah.
I am literally the only one. And I've been pushing so hard for more of them to be on. Actually, I get more comments now saying that they're commentating local, trying to really hard to do, again, as we talk, locals, regionals, nationals. And they're trying, one of those girls being Senpai, who's been commentating a lot more often now. Very proud of her. And she has such a good voice to do it too. And I was like, there isn't. But I did give a suggestion where there's a pro player. Her name is Supergirl Kels, the only top level Super Smash Bros. Player that exists out there who's female. Supergirl Kels. I said to them on the phone, no, there are no other girl commentators that do nationals. But if I could tell you or suggest any female who I believe could have the potential of being perfect on the mic, it would be Supergirl Kels. Because not only is she a pro player, so she could give you pro player insight, but she understands the game. And they were like, okay. So any other people? And I gave them like a list of commentators. They're like, okay, sweet. Well, we'll talk to you soon whenever we want. I'm like, okay, bye. And I thought to myself, well, I gave them my replacement. But you know what? I was able to work with them so many times that I'm not even mad. I have had the opportunity, so other people should too. And then I want to say they called me back like 3 weeks later. And it wasn't even the original person that called me. Another person. They're like, hey, what's up? It's been a while. I'm like, hey, I know. What's up? Like, it's different over there in Seattle. Like, you know, how's the season over there? And he's like, oh, it's pretty cold, you know. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, so do you want to work the Smash Brothers Invitational? And I was like, no way. I was like, I don't know if Nintendo's been trolling me. Like, I basically gave up all hope, to be quite honest. I was like, yeah, I'm not going to get hired for this. Because they even reached out to me to contact MK Leo and Mr. R, but they didn't reference me at all. They're like, yeah, can you get us in contact with these two players? Thank you. We need them for something, but we can't tell you. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, super not okay. I was so happy to be able to work with them. And so when I finally got the call, I honestly was like, this is insane. I can't believe it. I had to keep it a secret for like 2 months.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
It was tough. It was very tough. I found out, I think I found out like in late March. And then I actually think we waited 3 months before it was announced. Yeah, 3 months before it was announced.
That's so
yeah,
tough.
I think it was end of May when the tweet went out from Nintendo about all the commentators.
Yeah, it was slightly after Get On My Levels at the end of May. But yeah, it was crazy.
Describe the experience of commentating the Invitational.
I was so nervous. I've done a lot of stuff. Like I did the Evo broadcast where it was doing top 8 on Disney XD and ESPN. And I didn't sleep for that event for 4 days. Wow. It was tough because I was freaking out. Like television, like, you know, I could become a meme overnight. I can't mess this up. But for the Invitational, this is my favorite game. Like I was working with my favorite company on my favorite game. I can't mess this up. I was freaking out. And the community's father was standing right next to me, Sakurai. And I'm like, that's Sakurai. Don't freak out. I was like, don't freak out. Don't freak out. I'm okay. It's just Sakurai. He's just a person. like me. I'm just a person. And I was like, okay, be cool. Like, we had a bunch of rehearsal times. For the most part, it's felt very comfortable working with them because I've worked with the same production crew before. I believe Chris Seglia was behind it. He also does Evo production. So it was very comfortable for the most part, and it felt like the same Invitational that I did last year for Pokken and ARMS. But this was Smash. Like, this game I've been all hyped for, like, for the end of time. So I didn't believe it was coming out so soon. So hearing that it was an honor. It was an honor to be on stage, to be one of the first commentators to commentate the game.
What'd you think of the format? Mr. Cool Red Luigi talked about it in our Twitch chat here for a little bit, but watching it happen, I thought it was really cool format how they did the mixed doubles and then the free for all and all that, just showcasing
Everything.
Also items and all the different stages and the Smash, the ultimate and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it was really cool.
I personally like the setup. I like, because they were able, their whole job at the Invitational, people like have to remember, is to sell the game. They're broadcasting a new game and they're selling it, whether it be to the competitive scene or the casual audience. So they needed to showcase everything. They needed to showcase free-for-alls, items, assist trophies, all that stuff. I think it was a good idea because what they did with winner's bracket is, if I recall correctly, it was no items, smash ball on, and it was same competitive format in terms of competitive doubles, where it was 2v2s, team attack on. I forgot how many minutes it was, and I believe the stock count was like 3 or 4 for doubles. I know for singles it was 3, which I agree with. I believe it should stay with 3.
I hope they do that for online.
I do too. Or we could change it ourselves, or I don't know, but I definitely think competitive setup should be 3 stocks. And that's what they did it with. I also like the fact that losers bracket had items. That's when they were able to showcase the items. So it's basically like, hey guys, don't lose, because if you lose, then the match may not be very official after that point.
The chaos starts.
And then with the special guest features with the celebrities and the sports players and the personalities, they were able to do the free-for-alls as well as the cosplayers that they brought in. So they were able to interact with fans, celebrities, everyone's favorite people up on stage. And I think that was a really good call on their part, because then they were able to showcase more to the casual scene, and then they see the pro players playing the pro scene, playing more so in the pro scene format. And that was a good call from them. And that's also a statement from Nintendo saying that they're looking at the competitive scene, which is the concern that the competitive scene had since the beginning of Melee.
Yeah.
13 years over that.
So that kind of ties into my main question, I guess, that I have with all the changes that we've talked about that are coming to this game, and then all the characters and all that kind of stuff, and the speed and just the overall changes that have come about that we at least know about so far. Do you feel like all the different communities that we currently have can merge and adopt this game? Do you think this game can bridge that gap and bring the Melee players that have just stuck in the past playing that game over to everything with everybody?
In a perfect world, I would say yes. I would love that. Like, that's all. I think that's honestly what Sakurai wants, and that's why he brought back all the characters. It's basically his statement. I have speculation, actually, that the reason why he's doing that is because he wants to make this game to go out with a bang. And my speculation is that this may be the last game he's behind. And that's why he wants to do that, and that's why he's implementing more so different Melee mechanics into the new game, but in different way. Like, there's no wave dashing. There's basically just wave landing with lag. I want to say, in a perfect world, yes, but being Melee, if you ask a Melee player, what is your favorite game? 90% of them will say Melee. Because what other person is going to play the same game for 13 years and not have it be their favorite game?
Right.
So
yeah.
I would say that maybe it would bring more Melee players to play the new game, rather than, because a lot of Melee players didn't like Brawl, didn't like Smash 4, and it all has to do with the pacing of both games. Either they're too slow, either there's not enough combo game, movement mechanics don't matter. So with Ultimate coming about, I want to say that mechanics are going to matter more. And then they're implementing both the movement mechanics from Melee and the neutral game from Smash 4. and bringing them together to hopefully create a new game that has the perfected version of Smash 4.
Yeah.
I heard a lot of Melee players complain about the new game, and they basically don't want to make any final judgment calls until the game is finally released. But it's mostly because of the fact there's no wave dashing like there is in Melee. There's not L canceling for what we've seen so far. There's nothing like that. So because of that, there's complaints of only based on the movement speed of the game, in terms of it not being like Melee. So I want to hope that maybe some people could overlook that and still play the game, and maybe they could discover hidden technique themselves like they did in Melee years ago, and potentially bring the community together. Because imagine a tournament, a big FGC tournament with Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Killer Instinct, Dragon Ball, all these games, and then you see Smash Brothers Ultimate with like 7,000 entrances. Can you imagine how insane that would be? I think that would actually bring in not only developer support like crazy, but it would bring in crazy amount of sponsors and money for everybody. But then you're also like, you have to consider both sides. You're also risking the livelihood of the top, 5 gods of Melee, HBox, Armada, Leffen, Mango, all these guys, and now they have to get out of their comfort zone to compete in a new game where there's already gods in Smash 4 that are now also going into the new game, and their livelihoods depend on Melee, but are they willing to also extend it to Smash Ultimate is a question. So I would say I would really hope so, but if I want to think realistically, unfortunately, I don't think it would be enough.
What are your impressions of Ultimate? Do you love it?
I love this game so much. I think it's the best. I think it's actually the best Smash game. I think it's honestly, I can say that so confidently that I think that Smash Ultimate is going to be the best Smash game.
Is it a port?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It is not a port because of how different it is. It may look similar to Smash 4 with pretty graphics, but it plays so differently, and people won't understand that until they get their hands on it first, I say. Just the balloon knockback. I call it the balloon knockback because you do even one slight hit at low percent, and the opponent will go flying. Similar to a balloon with helium, when you let it go in a room, it goes crazy. That's how I see it as in Smash Ultimate. It's very similar. I call it balloon knockback because you get sent flying to anything. And that could be a double-edged sword, because then it's like, how are you going to combo things? Like, what's the end goal of the game? Like, are you trying to just make sure they don't stay off stage and they can't air dodge certain things because of the end lag to air dodge that they added? I love the game. I think the game has a very, very successful future, and I think Nintendo getting involved, especially with esports, is going to carry on its success.
The chat is currently banning me for asking you if it was a port. I just want to let you know. They are calling for my head right now. So, Vikki, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time to share your experience, share your history with Nintendo, and just for talking to us over the last hour here. Can you go ahead and let people know where they can find you?
Absolutely. And you guys could check me out, posting mostly on Twitter at VikkiKitty_, as well as Twitch. If you guys didn't catch at the beginning, it is VikkiKitty, just VikkiKitty, my tag, all together, no space. And it's been a pleasure, Josh. I really appreciate you both having me on here.
Yeah, thank you so much. Crawler, where can we find you, bud?
You guys can find me on Twitter at Nightcrawler724, Nightcrawlers without the E. Also hanging out in Josh's Discord, and then also on Friday afternoons in the Smash Bros. Cast.
There you go. All right, guys. Our normal co-host, your hero, he's not here, but that's Hate0. You can follow him on Twitter at Hate0. You can follow me on Twitter at N64Josh. You can follow this podcast at NPowercast. The show notes for this episode that will have the links to Vikki and her Twitch and her Twitter, n64josh.com/NPC108. If you want to email the show, you got a question, comment. I know I've got a few that we're going to get to next week, just so I know that you guys that have written in are maybe wondering. We're going to talk about them on this on Tuesday night. The email is npc@n64josh.com. Remember, get yourself a free book from Audible by going to audibletrial.com/NPC. Pick up Blood, Sweat, and Pixels if you want to hear about just the insane, the stories that go into the games that you love. Blood, Sweat, and Pixels, it's great. The chair I'm sitting in, guys, from OP Seat, go to n64josh.com/OP Seat. That link will save you $10. Okay, they're great chairs. I love them. I wouldn't recommend them if I didn't love them. So check them out. I do have a Patreon. If you want to get yourself an extra show, you can go to patreon.com/n64josh. For just $1, you get an extra podcast. $5 gets you a video podcast. Join the Discord. Nightcrawler mentioned it. n64josh.com/Discord. Come hang out with us. We have a great time talking Nintendo, talking everything. Like, nothing's ever really on topic. It's just always fun. And it's a safe place. I've seen multiple comments like this is one of the least toxic Discords I've ever been in. Like, we have good mods. We're doing the best we can to make sure everybody feels welcome and they can, just come talk about Nintendo stuff. Like, we're just there for a good time. Sometimes stuff gets really real. Sometimes people are like, hey, I'm dealing with some stuff. We're like, hey, let's talk about it. Like, you just never know. But it's a safe place, and we love hanging out together and playing games. I see people in the Fortnite channel all the time. Like, I'm looking at you, Mr. Red Luigi, Nintendo David 64. Who else do I see? For Maxis all the time. Lumberjoke. You guys are slaying in Fortnite. So hopefully you get some wins, guys. Everybody, thanks for listening. See you in the next episode.